My friend hosted an adult-only party, then made everyone take care of her kids.
What?
August 10th, 2024. First of all, I would love a real adult-only party where adults can talk and have conversations without kids interfering.
Okay, it's that kind of adult party. Nice.
You all have dirty thoughts. I saw everyone before the stream like, adult party?
She ain't doing that. She's having a whole party for everyone to focus on her kids only. I need to know how to address this with her. This has happened 2 times so far. By the way, this comes from tsim12345. And if you want to submit your own stories, go to r/OKStorytime subreddit. So, the first time, we pretty much all assumed that she had to have planned for childcare that must have backed out or something. But since we weren't sure, we didn't ask her. I think everyone felt awkward believing they were paying babysitters for an adult night and then having to have her kids at the dinner table. And they were actively part of the evening needing to be entertained, 2 young kids. Then it happened again. She sent out events for a dinner party in the evening with adults only on the invitation. Then when we got there, she had set up all these kids' games everywhere. She arranged the night around everyone kind of playing with her kids, and I could tell everyone felt awkward because people just wanted to have an adult night talking. But she had promised the kids that everyone would participate in the games they had set up and asked everyone if they wouldn't mind playing with the kids. I know that several people who attended the last event were very bothered by having to do this. People were whispering on the side about how they had to pay for a babysitter for the night and would have rather brought their kid along, and the kids could have just played games together if it's a family event. We barely ever pay a sitter, so I was kind of confused about why I had to spend my very limited babysitter funds on a night that I didn't even get to talk much with other adults, because the kids were for sure the center of the evening. She even stopped everyone to gather around to look at the kids' recent art projects and tell stories and sing. Is this normal in other circles? What would you do if this was your friend? If I say something, how would you explain this so that the person isn't mad or feels that like you just don't like their kid? She was mad because everyone left early and she had catered the event, but I think people didn't want to stay and preferred to just go back to their kids because they felt a little disrespected by the way things went. People are saying they don't want to hang out with her anymore. I don't know what to do. Relevant comments, temporary 4634 says, this is the craziest thing I've ever heard. Why is she so intent on the adults forming relationships with her kids and not their children? Opie says she doesn't have siblings. I think since the kids call her friends aunts and she wants her kids to be like nieces for us, she wants to help that bond grow. But it would also be good to have our own kids be included. Hope that makes sense. And another person comments, what is this friend's personality like? Opie says, I can't explain like her entire personality, but I don't think she is actively manipulating because she's a very kind and considerate person in all other ways. It's like she truly isn't realizing that people are bothered. I don't know if it's because she thinks we all love her kids so much that we want to spend time with them without our own kids distracting us. We do love her kids, but I prefer to also bring my own kids so they can all play together. I thought she also loved my kid and would want them to be there to play as well. If that's not the case, then I guess the friendship would be over. And you explained it perfectly. We are all so shocked and confused. It's like, how does she think this is normal? What is going on in her head? And how do I bring it up without knowing her reasons? She was so happy for the gathering and felt it went great at first before we left early. So it's hard to burst a bubble. But I have some great advice and fully plan on addressing it with her at the right time now. And OP on if her friend feels her children are more prioritized than the other children in the group. OP says, oh, she for sure believes that. She gave her kids everyone's numbers and they text and call us from their little kid phones. I didn't even mention all of that because it wasn't relevant to the party thing. If I'm being fully honest, it's a bit much. She is like very attached to the idea of us all being a close part of her kids' lives and getting upset if anyone misses their events or activities. The kids do not seem to notice. All of us have been there since before they were born. Nobody has been a stranger. I have been holding them in my arms since they were a day old and fresh from the hospital, LOL. The girls call us their aunts. This is normal to us and common for mom's best friend to be an aunt, but may not be in your region or area. And there is an update.
I don't understand that. Giving the kids all the adults' numbers is like too much. You give them like the close friends, you know, like an emergency contact or whatever, like.
I think it really only makes sense to give them the numbers if you're hanging out with them or they're an emergency contact.
And that's a discussion. That's like, first it's a conversation. It's like, hey, would you be comfortable with me giving my kids your number in case something happens, they can't contact me.
You know, I had some of my friends' parents' numbers growing up, but that was because they were watching me.
Right, exactly, because you needed it for some reason. This is just really strange. And you did highlight a comment right now that I feel like is kind of hitting on it. I don't know if I would go as far as narcissism, but it's like the fact that her kids are interacting with everybody like brings her a lot of joy, I'm sure. And I think she's setting the stage for everyone to be like, oh, an evening where we don't have to deal with any kids. How nice. And then you show up and you have to deal with her kids. And it's like, it's not that we don't like them. We were just expecting not to have any kids here.
It was clickbait. You baited us. But there is an update. Hi, everyone. I never expected so many people would have been interested in this situation, but I think it helps me feel vindicated that the situation was just as strange as I had perceived it to be. I wanted to wait for the kids to get back into school so we could discuss it in person. And luckily, I didn't even have to bring it up because someone else did bring it up to her, and she was eager to tell me that people were mad and she didn't know what the problem is with what she did. I was able to get through to her. I'll call her Katie in this post. And also understand her perspective. Understand, not agree with, which I'll try to explain here the best I can. I cannot remember every detail of the conversation, but can paraphrase all the key parts. She had been upset because one of our friends, Molly, was taking care of her toddler while Katie's kid kept trying to show her something. Katie noticed this and felt bad that her daughter just wants to share things with people she thinks of as her family/aunts. We are just friends, but the kids call each other aunts and each other's kids' cousins. So she wanted to build a stronger relationship between her kids and her close friends. She thought that us spending time with her kids away from our kids would be the way for us to show her kids better attention. This is especially important to her because she is an only child. Her parents are passed away. Her husband is an only child and his parents are passed away as well. Her children have no biological family. She is worried about what will happen to them if she passed away. Her mom passed away when she was a teenager and she feels anxious about her health.
Okay, so that's very valid and fair, but it's not something you do in the context of a dinner party.
And also, I feel like you could still get that kind of bond with just having a bunch of parties with all the kids around and stuff.
Yeah, sure. Like, don't make it like a no other kids context.
I feel like growing up with these kids, you become kind of bonded to them in a way. Like, I had a lot of my parents' friends who I hung out with their kids all the time, and at a certain point, they felt like family. Like, even the adults.
Yeah, I've got a couple of those. A couple of those, not like every single person I know with kids.
And also, I think that another good way, if you want that, is just inviting, like, let's say you want OP to become friends with the kids or bond with the kids, you just invite OP over. So it's like a one-on-one thing, you know?
Right. It should be like not in the context of a big group event.
She doesn't feel that other people's kids need the same type of bond with her because our kids have biological aunts, uncles, and cousins. She thinks they should be able to go spend time with their biological family and assumed that we were all sending our kids to our family and not paying a babysitter. She has no understanding of what it's actually like and romanticizes it. She was shocked to find that my siblings don't just drop their lives to babysit my kids. People who have siblings still pay babysitters and did for her parties. She feels that she paid for all the food and wine, and that alone should cover the expense of the babysitter, even if we did pay one.
You're hosting.
You're hosting.
Unless this is a potluck, you're hosting.
She knows that paying a sitter plus dinner would still cost more since she catered everything from a very expensive place. And we should have just been happy to get free food and drink. And if playing some kids' game is the price for that, it's not a bad price. Essentially, she argued at first that if someone pays for everything, they can decide. And if we want a different type of gathering, we can foot the bill and throw that gathering. I was just going to say, in part, yes, but also don't lie about what the gathering's going to be. That's the thing. You can throw whatever gathering you want and say, no kids but my kids, but put that on the invite.
This is like the same thing as if you were like, let's all go to a baseball game. And then you show up and it's a football game and then people leave and you're like, oh, it's still sports. The premise was false.
Now, how I handled this. That last note did eventually change to a more understanding perspective as I explained more and more about how even though she is technically right, she cannot maintain strong friendships with this mindset. You cannot provide meals for people with strings attached and deception involved. We didn't know until we got there and expect us to love it. She can do whatever she likes, but people can also end a friendship if they like. So she is free to do it, but not free from the consequences of it. I also was very clear to her that if her goal is to get stronger bonds for her kids, the way to do that is to love and bond with our kids and include them. That part seemed to be totally unexpected to her. I had to explain that people will be so upset by the fact that she isn't including their kids in kid events or isn't accepting that a parent needs to take care of their own kid first before focusing on hers. That they won't even want to be part of her family because that isn't what a family is. My sister doesn't expect me to leave my kid behind and be only with my nephews. My sister would never tell me not to bring my daughter to a family event because she loves my daughter, and that makes me love her and my nephews even more. I had to explain all of this. Lastly, she is rich and did grow up rich, and as the only child, she admits that she struggles to see things from others' perspectives or to consider others' feelings, and she has to make a conscious attempt to really see outside of her own wants and needs. She said she even talks about this in therapy, and that's why she goes out of her way to do nice things for us. I put some examples of her acts of kindness in the original post, because that's her way of trying to actively be a generous and caring person. She did cry as expected, especially when she was talking about her kids not having any family and her mom and dad passing away. And I'm very glad I did not mention it at the parties like everyone suggested, because I would have never wanted her to do that in front of people.
Everyone suggested to do that?
Everyone was like, confront her at the party. That's very silly. Why would you confront her at the party? It goes deep and she needs therapy to continue working on it. Overall, she did come around to the realization that she needs to alter her way of thinking about it and do things differently if she wants to achieve what she claims. She continued to reiterate how much her kids love me and how much she does love my kid too. She said she wants to do things the right way. She just is frustrated because what makes sense to her doesn't make sense to other people. But she accepts that it's her who will need to fix her way of thinking. By the way, you can fix your life by listening to full episodes of stories just like this. Just go to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or iHeartRadio and search up OK Storytime.
That's right. Are you in deep with back taxes? Just listen to our show.
Are you sad that it's tax season? Just listen to OK Storytime. But there is a little bit left to the story. Any final thoughts?
I mean, I like that she's ended up in a place where she's like, yeah, I do need to reevaluate the way I'm approaching this. All the people being like, confront her at the party. Like,
so silly. I'm like, that's your friend. She's obviously, making an error, but go talk to her, have a conversation, which is what you did, and it worked.
It's coming from a good place, kind of, or at least at the very least, like an understandable place, but it just wasn't being executed in the right way whatsoever.
True that.
So, I think we're on the right page here.
But let's finish this story off. A lot of crying and some arguing, but overall, it does appear that we are still friends. We hugged, and she said she's going to do something nice for everyone and their kids. If anyone still has questions about specific things said, I can try to answer in comments. I felt so much better going into it knowing that I was not wrong for standing my ground. And relevant comments, OP on having conversations with her friend about being out of touch with different perspectives for social and mental growth. OP says, it seemed genuine to me, and it's not the first time that she's been so out of touch. It's vastly different from how I was raised with 4 siblings in a poor home. I have to stop to consider what her mind is like, and she needs to stop and consider how different her perspective is. I can't fathom being so selfish because I didn't even get my own birthday party growing up. My sister's birthday was close to mine, so we shared a party. LOL, I hope she's serious about doing better, and if not, I can always wish her the best, but distance myself. It went as well as I could hope. Tough at first, but cooled down and became more emotional than an argument. I think she needs to continue therapy about her parents because she's holding on to a lot about her mom passing away, and her dad just used money to take the place of raising her after she passed away. Then he passed away too. There are some things that money can't buy. In this case, social awareness. OP on if her friend is receiving therapy. OP says she's been in therapy for forever, so I've started to feel like these people just take her money because, she even mentioned that her therapist thought it was a good idea to have her friends get closer to her kids to ease her anxiety about them lacking family. I don't know if she misunderstood the idea. I highly doubt they intended for her to do it the way she did. Either that or the therapist is out of touch as well. LOL. And yeah, I'm totally wondering if she misunderstood what they had said for her to do. She may have taken that bit of advice and made up her own way of doing it, which clearly didn't work out. And then does OP feel like her friend has been clueless on how things should be when socializing with other people? OP says if you understood more of her life, it would make more sense. I am just now starting to realize how warped some of her perceptions still are. As I said, she lost her mom, then before her dad passed away, he didn't really nurture her, but just kind of gave her money and a nanny to take care of her. Her nanny was her only friend. Her dad had specific issues, and I won't say more than that, but she was not allowed to ever have a friend over or be with friends. She was homeschooled for some time, and he had different types of beliefs than I would say is typical. I think she seems so normal at times that I forget how different her life has been until a situation like this happens, and I realize she sees the world differently. This is a super niche comparison, but she's Adrian Agreste.
Nice. That's all I'm going to say.
All I'm going to say about that. It's from a kid's cartoon called Miraculous Ladybug, and Adrian Agreste is a super sheltered rich kid. But that is the end of that story.